I know what this was, and there's all these arguments about what did this game really mean, because of next week, I respect the out of you guys. I respect the out of how we roll the ball out and you guys just go out and compete. I can't even put it into words, man. I cannot put it into words. I love the hell out of you guys. I love the hell out of you guys.
That was Lions coach Dan Campbell in the locker room. I mean, that guy plays to win all the time.
Never seen anything like this. This isn't like a football season. It's like a religious mission.
Yes.
I'm here for it. I'm all for this destiny, the fact that he's always saying, like, we're all meant to be here together. Man, it's, it fires you up. Well, but I don't know. I still don't think they should have played their guys, but they got out of the game alive and they get the 1 seed next week.
He's established a DNA and a mindset of winning in a place that didn't have that for so long. And it's not easy to do that. Yeah. So I think when people kind of made fun of him for being this, a lot of hyperbole and stuff, no, it's authentically him, and he's been able to do it.
Yeah, I tweeted out on Thanksgiving, I think, that, like, who dislikes this Lions team? Like, this has to have the most, like, universal approval, critical. Even then, it's like, it's such a fun team. Yeah. So I think that, most neutral. And, I mean, they're going up against the Vikings, who are also have universal approval. So, very critically acclaimed matchup on Sunday Night Football coming up.
Let's look at the playoff vibes teams. These are teams that are technically locked into their playoff seeding right now, with one caveat at the bottom there, that the Chargers, they're locked in if the Steelers win. And we'll get in deeper to that in a second if things change for that. But the Eagles, they're locked into the number 2 seed. They're playing the Giants. The Chiefs, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Bills, they're the number 2 seed in the AFC. The Texans are the number 4 seed in the AFC. None of that can change. So, Matthew, you broke down, hey, sure, the Chiefs are going to play backup, so it doesn't mean they're just going to roll over. The Chargers are kind of in an interesting scenario because Jim Harbaugh said this week, we're playing to move up. We'd love to be in the 5th seed playing to win. Obviously, that is out of their control depending on how things go Saturday, because if the Steelers win on Saturday, then they're locked into the 6th seed. If that happens, Matthew, do you see Jim Harbaugh as a guy that goes the Dan Campbell route and just gets some guys reps anyway?
Feels like it. He just feels like that guy. I mean, keep in mind, this is they lost Gus Edwards, so they just got J.K. Dobbins back for the in the Patriots game. I mean, those guys were in late in the fourth. It took until like the final drive, I think, till Taylor Heineke showed up for the Chargers as well, right? You've got young receivers, and you obviously got the rookie McConkey, but QJ Quentin Johnson still dealing with drops as well. They just got Will Dissly back. They just got J.K. Dobbins back. So trying to, they're trying to get some more reps for Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal and, some of the defensive players as well. And so I think, yes, I don't know that they play the full game here, but I think that like the Chargers that you would actually play, J.K. Dobbins, Lad McConkey, Herbert maybe, like I think you can still feel good. I guess unless we get reporting between now and Sunday morning, of course, we're going to break all this down for you, Fantasy Football pregame. We're back again this Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, all the way up until kickoff on Peacock and the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, Accompany Man. I do think they'll play enough, and that Harbaugh's mentality, trying to instill a new winning culture in LA, et cetera, et cetera. I think they go more Dan Campbell than, we're resting everyone. I also think, by the way, Sirianni's got a little bit of that too. He's a very different kind of guy than Dan Campbell or Jim Harbaugh, but there's a fieriness to Nick Sirianni, and I think they are going to want to try to get Saquon the record at least for like the first half. So it feels like the Eagles play at least. I think they play a half. Would be my guess, and I'm using guess in strong quotes here.
Yeah, I have some quotes from Sirianni that he said during our taping here. We'll get into both the Bills and the Eagles because they're each locked into the number 2 seed. The Texans locked into the number 4 seed. This is different, Jade, in my opinion, than the Chargers, because the Chargers, things have been relatively fine throughout the course of the season. The Texans, they're locked into the 4 seed. They've lost their last 2 games. There is a thought, hey, we need to get rolling here. We don't care if it's against Tennessee and Mason Rudolph. D'Amico Ryan's quote was, everyone will be out there playing. That's what he said this week. Now, that quote still applies if you take guys out after the first quarter. But I think the Texans, they need to use this almost as a tune-up preseason game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like one of those old-fashioned Week 3 preseason games in years past before they adjusted, where you do play the starters for a chunk. I think that based on all the comments based as well on the line moving. It opened Texans +4, is now Texans -1. I think we're going to see a couple, maybe even a few series of Stroud before the starters get pulled. And even then, like in terms of the game itself, like, the Texans don't have the worst backup quarterback situation in the world with Davis Mills.
Yeah, Davis Mills is fine.
Yeah, so I think this will be, they will be playing to win for a while.
All right, Matthew, these are the ones that are peculiar, right? The Bills and the Eagles. Now, the Bills, head coach Sean McDermott, he was pretty honest this week, all things considered. He said Josh Allen's going to go out there. He's going to continue his streak as a starter, so he'll take a snap or whatever it may be, and they're going to get him out of the game pretty quickly, and they're going to be kind of in observe mode with a couple players, but it's not going to be the Bills. The Bills are going to be very, very delicate against the Patriots. The Eagles, as you hinted at, Matthew, this is a much more interesting scenario with Nick Sirianni and the Saquon Barkley potential record. So he was asked on WIP Sports Radio in Philadelphia this morning. He said, still thinking through a little bit. Take a lot into account. What's the best thing for the team? Also, what's the best things for the individuals for the record? He says he's going to talk to everybody, including ownership, including the front office. He also referenced in 2021, Smitty was going for the rookie receiver record. We didn't play some other guys in that game, but we went and got him that record. Every situation is a little different, not saying one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I will say, if ever there was a player that has the right attitude, right? Because Sirianni's got some real decisions to make here. But Saquon Barkley's been very, hey, whatever coach decides, like the record would be nice, but the most important thing here is we're trying to win a Super Bowl. And whatever it is to help us prepare there. So, he's not putting any public pressure on it. He is, a selfless dude and is like, whatever we need to do. I think the Eagles want to. The other thing is that, and Coach Garrett talked about this. We on the Football Night in America podcast that I do with Maria Taylor, Devin McCourty, Jason Garrett, and Mike Florio. I was about to say Devin Singletary there for a second. Sorry. But what the FNIA pod that we do, we talked about this, and one of the things I brought up there is I said, look, you know what? They don't know if they're going to have Jalen Hurts there. So, like, they need to get Kenny Pickett some more reps, honestly, if there's a chance that Hurts misses a playoff game. Like, Cedric Tillman's still out with a concussion, man. Concussions can last. They can last for a long time. So we don't know what stage. There's 5 stages of the concussion protocol that Jalen Hurts has to clear, and we don't know what stage he is in. The Eagles have been very mum about that. So he could still be in stage 1 for all we know. And the other thing that I'll say here, and Coach Garrett talked about this as well, because it's not just like, oh, let's pull Jalen Hurts, or let's pull Saquon Barkley, because you've got the offensive line. If you want to get guys right, if you want to get Kenny Pickett ready, like, you can't get him out there with backup linemen and, backup wide receivers. Like, you sort of got to, if you're running the offense, you got to run the offense. So it's not just as easy as saying, like, we're going to do everything, but without Saquon Barkley. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot that goes into it as well. I think this is such a big story that we will have more clarity between now and Sunday at 1 o'clock. But my guess as we sit here today is that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley play a half, sort of as Jay was talking about, kind of a week 3 preseason game, an old school week 3 preseason game where they play a half, enough to try to get him the record, but also let's not get crazy and let's not risk injury that long. Let's get in there, let's get in the record, let's get out, and get a couple of reps as well.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotorworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.